What's up, everybody? Just checking to make sure that we've got audio here. Make sure that everything is good to go. Looks like we've got things coming through. Oh, the gears are firing up. Maybe one day I'll actually make an intro video so we can let people kind of filter in, get the notification, all that good stuff. Let's just make sure that we're working. What is going on here? Did I click the wrong button? There we go. There we go. Let's make sure. Oh my goodness. What am I doing here? All right, everybody. Welcome to Wednesday Night Art House Live. I got James will be joining me here just briefly while I say hello to everybody and give everybody a minute to come on in. One of these days, I'm going to do an actual intro video to kick off, so we have like a nice little 5-minute buffer for people to get the notifications and pop in. But if you are hanging out in the chat tonight, give a little thumbs up for me. Say hello in the chat. We're going to be recapping a few things. I've had a very busy couple of weeks. I know James has had a lot of big things going on too. How's your Thanksgiving? What's up, Jay? I might need to contact you about some animation. Well, for a couple things actually. What kind of animation do you do? Okay, with Premiere, After Effects. We're just hanging, man. We're just hanging. I actually not just for this, but then also I've got a couple projects coming up for Kickstarter that I think I would like to get some stuff. And then we got James in the backstage here. We'll bring you in, buddy. Everybody give a round of applause for James Sketching the Beast. What's up, brother?
What's going on, man?
Hey, just hanging out, man. How was your Thanksgiving?
It was good. It was good. Uneventful, but good.
Who did the cooking? Was that you? Was that Chrissy? Who was cooking? Hello? I think we lost you, buddy. And just like that, I think we lost you. It's a good look, too. I think maybe we just leave that look, and that's just his reaction to everything I say for the evening.
That was weird.
Are you back?
I am back. Sorry about that.
Somebody kinked the line, and like the garden hose when you're a kid, you know?
Yeah.
Having the water gun fights.
That was very strange. Yeah, sometimes the computer acts funny when it starts up for the first time after a while.
Me too.
But no, yeah, Thanksgiving was good. We were at the sister-in-law's house. And yeah, we had some turkey and some gravy, all the usual stuff.
Yeah.
Some cranberry sauce. It's the one time a year I eat cranberries.
I know I tried it a long time ago.
Oh man, you don't like cranberries?
I apparently not enough to try it again. But I think enough times passed, I don't even remember like what I didn't like about it, if that makes sense. I just know it was a long time ago. I think it's the shape that bothers me when it comes out of the can, and
it's the can. It is the can.
Yeah. Yes,
I find that fascinating. Yeah,
it has become can.
Yeah, become one with the can.
Exactly. Any unusual or different Thanksgiving traditions you got, or is it just standard fare?
Yeah, pretty standard. Go to the family's house. We have dinner and hang out for a little bit. Watch the kids act like crazy people, and yeah, that's about it. Eat some pie and then go home.
That was I like the dial-up modem reference.
Dude, here. I remember the dial-up.
I've seen my dad like disappointed in the past and like angry and upset, but I never seen him more furious than the one day. I was maybe 13 and I was trying to play Warcraft online. I'm not talking World of Warcraft. I'm talking real-time strategy, top down, right?
Yeah.
Play that one?
Yeah, very briefly.
Way back in the day, right?
Yeah.
Well, that was one of the first games we had that you could play over the modem. So that was like me and my buddy Ryan. That was our fixation, man. Like every day after school, get home, get on Warcraft, dial up, and inevitably someone would call. It would interrupt the connection on the phone line, and it would crash our game.
I remember that. That's
terrible.
Funny.
Well, apparently the one day it was my dad that was trying to call. He was at work, and he was very upset that my brother didn't show up to work. He wasn't
Ooh.
sure why he didn't show up. And out of nowhere. So imagine I've got about 45 minutes of me just struggling to get the internet working and apologizing to my buddy and calling him like, I'm sorry, man. Like someone keeps calling. I don't know who this jerk. Well, the jerk was my dad. And he comes bursting through the kitchen door. Scared the heck out of me. And he's like, who's tying up the phone line? I'm like, sorry. Sorry, it's me. Where's Kevin?
That's
I don't
funny.
know. It was a whole ordeal. It was a whole ordeal.
The good old
But,
days.
Yeah, but yeah, for us though, I did call it the lion's share of the cooking. I enjoy cooking Thanksgiving dinner.
Nice.
Everybody else in the family kind of divvied up, who's got breakfast, who's got dinner the night before, all that stuff. And we did the turkey roulade, buddy. Turkey roulade? If you haven't had it, have you heard about it?
No. What is that?
Let me see if I can pull it up here real quick. So turkey roulade, the whole idea is that instead of cooking the bird whole, you debone it, flatten it out, and then roll it up with stuffing. Let me see about sharing. Oh, we got Danielle in the chat here too. What's up, Danielle?
What's up?
What's happening?
Hey, everything's going differently. Everything's good. What about you guys?
Good. Where are you?
It looks like she's hanging out at the mall.
Well, I am at the mall, yes. I'm in a similar situation with the Starbucks thing, but I'm gonna do something smart. I can turn the microphone off and on so no one has to hear all the craziness going on in the background. But how is everybody?
So are you doing characters and stuff there? Or are you just working?
I'm just working. But it is so dead here that I'm just like, I'm so beyond bored right now. So
I'm so bored. What are Steve and James doing?
I am very bored.
I like it. Well,
Yeah.
I'm going to show you here real quick. I don't know how your Thanksgiving was. This is what I was making. It wasn't as pretty as these, but yeah, you debone the turkey, you flatten it out, and then you stuff it and roll it. And let me tell you, buddy, I like me some turkey roulade. So
Yeah.
and
Sounds like a lot of work, but looks good.
Yeah. Honestly, I don't think it's any more work than doing like a normal turkey. It does take a little bit of like learning how to like debone the thing and everything. It only takes about an hour and 15 minutes to cook.
Oh.
It's juicy.
So
amazing.
I've never done anything like that, and that sounds absolutely delicious. I am more proficient in making desserts for Thanksgiving, and I had a wonderful Thanksgiving. Thank you for asking.
Yeah. So what's the do you have, is it into the pies? Are you into like the like apple dumplings and that sort of thing? What's your forte?
So I do this red velvet cheesecake with Oreos as the crust, and I also made a chocolate espresso mousse this Thanksgiving. So 2 dessert endeavors. The Oreo cookies, they're not crushed and like turned into a powder for the crust.
Yeah.
No, they are just like dipped in milk and like pressed at the bottom of the pan, and that's the crust.
I like that.
Oh,
I
it's
like
delicious.
that.
And my little brother, who's not a sweets fan, loves it. My dad loves it, and he doesn't like to eat sweets. Like I've pretty much been like designated to make this cake. This cake every year for the last 3 years.
That sounds really good.
It's delicious. I was actually gonna make something like that for us at the Baltimore show, but you know, that was also the weekend that most of our coworkers bailed. So it's just like, well, next time.
Damn you, coworkers!
Man, it'd just be you and James splitting a giant pan of cheesecake.
Yeah, that would have been too much to eat for just 3 people. Me, James, and my husband Jay.
Just
We
put
would
it
have
down.
knocked it out on the weekend. It would have been
Yeah, it would have
fine.
been way too big.
Yeah, I don't eat a whole lot of sweets on my own. Like I don't buy them to keep at the house, but if they're available, Lord help me. Like we'll put it down for sure. So guys, real quick, we're gonna just kind of recap anything that we've been going on over the last couple weeks, and then probably around 8 o'clock, I'm gonna jump into I'm gonna be very carefree with spoilers about Star Wars, the Skeleton Crew. I have some thoughts on it. I'll give it a little bit of a teaser. I think it's good, but it also got me thinking about on a meta level, very meta level about how we do what we do when we're coming to story writing. So James, you said you're not a big Star Wars guy.
I didn't say that.
Okay.
Well,
Oh,
all right.
Maybe
Sort
I
of.
misinterpreted what you said.
No, yeah, sort of. I watch. I'm particular with what I watch when it comes to Star Wars. I don't know.
Okay.
Star Wars has kind of become so overplayed now, in my opinion, that it doesn't interest me as much because it's a universe and it's like, okay, we've established all this stuff. Everything, the same thing happens over and over again. And I watched the originals.
Yeah.
The original of the trilogy when they came out when I was a kid. I liked those a lot, and I watched I always get it. Yeah, whatever the other 3 are that came
The
out
prequel.
later. Yeah, the prequels. I liked them mostly. I used to be able to do a really good Jar Jar Binks impression. I can't remember it off the top of my head.
You can spare us on that one.
Yeah, we'll spare you.
That's very controversial character.
Yeah. But no, I don't know. They just, to me, it's just like, it's such a big fandom that it's like, I don't know. I don't really delve into it too much.
There's a lot there. There's a lot there.
Yeah.
What about you, Danielle? Are you a Star Wars fan? Or are you not really on your radar?
Jose's friend.
Yes, I am.
Where's your,
1 second.
All right. Just got put on hold on my own show.
Oh my goodness.
Wow. That's
Okay.
a burn. That is a burn. Well, friends in the audience, feel free to say hi if you haven't said hi already. What's up, Ben? Jay, as always, thanks for hanging out, man.
What up,
if any of you guys had any cool Thanksgiving things from this weekend,
Sorry
past
about
weekend.
that. Right as you asked me, someone came to talk to me, and I was just,
Are you getting kicked out? Are you not buying enough coffee?
No, you know what? I'm not getting enough coffee at all as it is. So to your earlier question, so I wouldn't call myself a fan more than I am. I appreciate it. I appreciate the story. I appreciate the characters. I like Han Solo, the way he was originally created, to shoot the alien first instead of making him seem noble, and that he shot second. Because no, if you made a rogue character, keep him as a rogue character. So I appreciate it. I absolutely appreciate it. That being said, I do not acknowledge any of the sequels with Rey. She does not exist to me.
Ooh, she's dead to you.
Wow.
She doesn't exist to me.
That's funny. Not even dead. She's just in like purgatory out there.
Not even purgatory. I just do not choose to acknowledge her
At all.
Anything. Because one thing I despise more than anything is trying to take an amazing franchise and try to make it pro-feminist type stories. That is the biggest way to lose my support. I can't stand any of that. And Rey was basically just shoved in for like that kind of propaganda, and so I'm just like,
All right.
No.
I don't know. I don't know if
No,
that
no,
was the. I don't know if that was the point behind.
That
being
was
a
the
female
point.
lead.
They pretty much ignored the lore. Like I know like the general sense of the lore as well. They pretty much like did a huge train wreck on the whole Jedi lore that suddenly she can do without much training. Like, we at least get a whole half of movie of Luke Skywalker needing to no, a whole movie of Luke Skywalker learning how to be a Jedi, and we don't know how long it takes him to learn his Jedi powers, and he loses an arm while still trying to get a hold of his powers correctly. So he
Yeah.
has a whole friggin' arc to learn how to control his Jedi powers, and yet this friggin' girl comes in, hey, I've learned it in 10 minutes. So it's just like, no.
Yeah.
James,
No,
I feel like
no,
you're not on board with that, James.
Well,
Well.
yeah. So I mean, I get her point, right? Like, yeah, I feel like they definitely fast tracked her, but I don't know if they fast tracked her just because she's a woman, or if they fast tracked her because they wanted to get the plot moving faster, where they didn't have to spend an entire movie trying to develop her as a character. But yes, I could see how it would come off that way. I only watched the first movie of the new trilogy, so I didn't watch the second or the third, really. But yeah, no, I don't know, because I mean, there's girl Jedis. It's not like there's not.
There's
Jedis.
girl Jedis, but not like Mary Sue's. They're likable characters, and you can at least see where the growth comes from. But she's just like, oh hey, I'm strong because I'm the main character.
My thing I hated about the movie was Adam Driver's character. The new whatever you want to call him, the new Sith Lord guy, whatever. Like, yeah, I didn't like the way that they did that transition from
Kylo Ren.
Yeah, I didn't. Yeah, that's right. That's his name, Kylo Ren. I didn't like that, and that's what lost me after that first movie. Was like this is what's his face's son. Forgive me, I'm awful at names. And it's like, okay, this is his son, and then like he's mad at him. Yeah, he's mad at him. This is Han Solo's like the greatest guy in the universe. The greatest hero in the universe. Gives birth to a villain. I mean, I don't know. So yeah. I'm not 100% on board with that, and I don't like. I hate when sequels take characters and like throw out all of their history and growth that they've had in a series. That is what I hate the most. So
a couple of things here. We'll address that one first. Is that I think the biggest problem that those movies had is that there's a 30-year gap.
Yeah.
Since we've seen these characters do anything.
Right.
And the only thing that we had to fill that space was either headcanon, like things we made up on our own. It's like, oh, they probably did this or they probably did that. Or all the books and the comics and games and everything else.
Yeah.
Which
there's
more or less.
Well, there's also something else I need to add as to why I can't stand it.
Okay. I didn't realize this was going to be a therapy session tonight. I was like, I'm going to review the new show.
Movies.
No, maybe this is a therapy session for me because, I've never really been asked my opinion about it because, I don't know, just everyone had their own opinions about it, and just kind of kept them. And me on the other hand, I'm just like, oof, you guys wouldn't like my opinion, or maybe you would, and just move on. But one thing that I've always been really bugged with, it's also a kind of a repeat in the recent Indiana Jones movie, is how the heroes, they're like the heroes in their movies. They were always they always did something amazing, but then they're always turned into something like Henry Ford, goodness. Indiana Jones was Harrison Ford was
Henry
turned
Ford.
into I don't know why.
See, the guy that invented the car.
And maybe I got
Yes, I think so.
Okay, but Harrison Ford was suddenly in Indiana Jones, where he was just this washed-up professor who, with a divorced wife and a dead son, and then Luke Skywalker was just a washed-up Jedi who drinks from some cow penguin animal that we didn't really need to see. and just like he's just like a bitter, angry hermit, and it's just like, what happened to like everything they were? Why did you just like create these characters? Like it was like they turned into complete shells of themselves just to make the characters, the girl main characters make them look better, and it's just like I can't
Yeah.
stand that either.
I don't want to um, assume motive as to why they made some of the like Luke more of the ticked off hermit. I don't want to assume that they did that just to make Rey look better. I think from a
I assume it because it's just been it's to me it's been a repeat theme in several movies where like the big hero is suddenly very washed up and bitter, and then like the next hero who comes in is the next next Jedi, next hero, and it's just.
Did you guys ever play the Max Payne games?
Mm-mm.
I've never played the Max Payne game. No.
Okay, so it got its claim to fame because around the time it came out with the bullet time thing where you could dive around in slow motion, the Matrix also hit and got big for bullet time and jumping around in slow motion.
Yes.
And the third game released probably a decade or more after the second one came out, so not as big of a time jump. But when you meet up with Max, he is not the Max that you remember. He's that very grizzled, disheveled, fallen apart alcoholic. And I think the big thing here is you can have these story elements. The writing just has to back it up and make sense and be fulfilling. Like if you left Luke being this optimistic guy that his last intention that you saw was to literally turn the darkest dark Sith to ever exist into an okay guy, a dad, if you will. If that's where you left his arc and then suddenly he's back to like the lowest low, there's got to be some kind of story writing that happens that justifies
that's what they didn't do. They didn't give
exactly
us a good reason.
Yeah, and it was tried to pawn off as like he failed as an instructor with Ben Solo, but even then it's like they didn't really explain it. It was kind of murky, and I feel like they had too many pans in the fire with that movie to really flesh out the character that we all grew to love.
Yeah.
Luke. I don't know. But so as far as the Mary Sue thing, I find this an interesting topic. Because when it's, especially nowadays, if you have a female character that does get a ton of power and becomes uber powerful instantly, and is also very good at what they do, Mary Sue. But if we look at all of our characters that we've grown to love over time, some of obviously there's exceptions, but you look at like the Hulk, who gets blasted with gamma radiation. Next thing you know, he's this big hulking beast and he's fighting crime. If you look at Spider-Man, kid gets bit by a spider, and I'm talking about the old school comics, like instant superhero. He's jumping up over buildings and stuff, saving the day. Obviously, as you move on in time, there's more nuance to his challenges and whatnot. But we tend to give guys more of a pass when they suddenly become powerful. But when girls do it, and I see it from all sides of all fences, there tends to be like this, well, wait. How can you do that? What do you suppose that is? Or do you even agree with that notion?
Yeah, I don't know.
So for me, I actually there's some actual female characters that I kind of get why they get from point A to point B. I guess Spider-Gwen, for example, to me, from the universe of Spider-Man, with when Miles Morales becomes Spider-Man. To me, she kind of was a little bit more self-explanatory, but that was because she was supposed to be like another alternate universe of Peter Parker. I guess in a way that might be true, but at the same time, I don't want to agree to that. I just can't stand Rey because I don't feel she was a good character at all. She wasn't even likable, for that matter. And let's see. Have any of you seen Wicked by any chance?
Wicked. Maybe.
So that one is
I'm not
where
sure.
I definitely can say that this character is not a Mary Sue because so
Oh,
let's see,
understand.
so Wicked is about a girl who becomes the Wicked Witch of the West because she
Yes.
found out a plot that wasn't correct, and because she found this plot out, she was then called to be like the Wicked Witch, and so became the enemy of the country just because she knows a terrible secret. Now for her, like, she genuinely was like someone who was trying to be good all of her life, and she just had power she really didn't know how to control. And it shows that she was given times to grow and train, and while she was training, she also became best friends with someone who would help her become more confident in herself. She was slowly falling in love. We are growing with her. But then comes the day when she is able to meet her idol, but then she learns that her idol is, well, the bad guy, and then like everything is turned, her whole world is flipped upside down. We grow up with her. We want to root for her. So in my opinion, like, Elphaba from Wicked is more likable and we absolutely relate to her. Ray, not so much. I just kind of feel like she was thrown in there and then we was given power, for no reason.
No.
So
Well,
that is where. So in
yeah.
that case, I can't say that I'm all against our powerful female characters.
Yeah, so that's where you go from good character development to bad character development, right? Well, I think the problem with Star Wars, and this is maybe part of the reason I don't like Star Wars, is they're trying to do all of this, right? All of this. It's not just one character they focus on. Sometimes in some of the movies they do, it's like kind of very focused in, but they have to talk about the things that are happening over here on this planet, the things that are talking over here, the things that are happening over here all at the same time, and they don't. They want to build the universe, but not develop the character properly, and that's where you get in situations like that for sure. I think so. Like, I think my biggest problem with, like, kind of what you're saying, Steve, is like is when you have movies like Captain Marvel and you have like this TV series She-Hulk, and this is not. I'm not going to be like, oh, women leads can't be women leads. It's not a thing.
You guys
There's
clipping
plenty.
this? Get your clipping tools ready. James is about to throw himself under the bus.
My wife makes fun of me all the time. But you know what I mean? Like, I feel like I make a pretty good point. This is like, the problem I have is not that the character is got strong all of a sudden. It's not the fact that, she can do anything that the guy version of the character can do. It's the fact that they take it and then they rub it in the guy character version's face that they could do it better. Right? That's where because if a guy did that, it's sexist. Yes. If a girl does that, it's like, oh, it's kind of okay. Like, oh, we're just being funny. When you know what I mean? It's very left foot, right foot to me. But I feel like if She-Hulk had done less of the guys, blah blah guy thing, in your face Hulk thing, then that show would have been a little bit better. I actually kind of enjoyed a lot of the elements of the show. I feel like there was a couple episodes that were really good. It stood on its own 2 feet. But then
talking She-Hulk.
Yeah, She-Hulk. Yeah. And Captain Marvel was okay. But yeah, she just kind of was like, she was not a likable character in the way, like, she was kind of a D-bag. But it's like not in a funny way either. So that kind of rubbed me the wrong way in that one.
Yeah, for the most part, I didn't have a problem with Captain Marvel. The Marvels, I didn't even finish.
I do.
Yeah.
Yeah. I see a trending theme with Daniel here on some of these characters, especially coming from the Marvel Disney camp.
Yeah.
That does. I will give both of you that is that there have been a lot of tropes and trends over the last few years, which I think is what got a lot of the audience bent out of shape. The story writing isn't there to back up the characters, and when you're doing that to like snuff the main guys, here's an interesting one. I don't know if you guys have heard this. out of all the battles that the MCU Hulk gets into, the Incredible Hulk gets into, I don't think he wins any of his fights other than when he's fighting like minions.
Yeah.
And I forget what they call that, but it's like a power grading, because if you can beat up the Hulk, you already know that the Hulk is a bad dude.
Mm-hmm.
So if you can beat him up, that just shows you how much more bad that person is. So Ultron or, whoever. So I'm wondering if we're getting a little bit of that same trope or that same effect where it's like, well, you already know that Indiana Jones is going to be the bad dude, but you need to prove that this girl is also good. So we'll just throw that quick interaction in there just to prove it.
Yeah.
I don't know. You think that's going on, or?
Could be. It could be. I mean, it could be an unoriginal way to be like, oh, that's what's happening.
Mm-hmm.
But I think, like with She-Hulk, there was 100 different ways they could have done that. With Captain Marvel, I mean, she could have just been a nicer character. but yeah, no, I mean, I could definitely see that. But yeah, I think there are way more creative ways to do something like that than to put down a section of your audience, to say the least.
Which is the bigger problem. They pretty much create. They pretty much always make that narrative that the other half of the audience is bad for thinking oppositely of the character, and that's another thing I cannot stand. It's basically just like preaching at the audience, and we're not here to be preached to. We're here to watch the stupid movie. So.
Yeah.
Well, I know that a lot of people had that notion with, like, just going back to She-Hulk, was that there were elements of that, or like with the one-upping with the Hulk. I think you're going to have that with any family member. Like, I got to see some of that during Thanksgiving, the sibling rivalries and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But I think one of the challenges is there's a lot of different folks that watch and, consume this kind of material, that I think when you do have a character that can be snarkier than you're used to, or have more of an attitude than you're used to, like, those people exist. And I think for the most part,
make them likable.
and that's fine. At the same time, like some of the stuff that went on at She-Hulk with some of her shenanigans, I'm like, I'm okay watching it, because I'm just like, this is just who this is, and this is how she sees the world. And not all the humor's for me, not all the writing's for me, but I thought some of it was funny.
Yeah, they had good
well,
points.
I mean,
good points.
I guess you can always say like, that's the way that character is, but there's also something to think about, how you need to make sure your audience will grow with that character. Like you sympathize with the character. Like I'm using Elphaba as an example. She's just complaining the whole time and I'm saying this as just like someone who's objectively watching it. Is if I am just gonna watch someone who's gonna complain and attack like another half of the audience for problems that are not really my problems, it's just like, I don't like you. You're just whiny. So, and I don't think that's a good way to kind of keep your audience to follow the story. So.
Yeah.
I'd say that's fair. So as far as Star Wars goes, I think that Disney Marvel pre-COVID had it about as good as you can have it. That anything that they put in the theaters, it was going to be borderline $1 billion movie every time. If it didn't get there, it was going to crush that number. And then when COVID hit, they were already in the process of building infrastructure for Disney Plus, and that really worked to their benefit, because obviously when no one can go anywhere and you've already got a few seasons of this and that, drummed up and ready to go. I think that was about the best case scenario. I wasn't a huge fan of WandaVision, or what was it? Black Falcon and
Winter Soldier. Yeah.
Whatever it was.
Yeah,
I always mess up the name.
Yeah, it was it was Falcon and Winter Soldier.
Falcon, there you go.
Yeah.
I I think the problem was they put so much stock then in just pushing Disney Plus and trying to pump out content that the writing just got, I don't know. You started to lose some of that meat that you had from having those movies. I don't know if you guys have any thoughts on that or.
Yeah, so I think so. Kind of a little bit circling back to what I was saying earlier too same thing with Star Wars is with the Marvel movies. They hit it so big with like the whole Thanos plot and how that the movies traverse between each that they're like, how are we going to replicate this? How, okay, we're going to put this into TV shows. Now, how can we replicate that? And I think where they lost it was they didn't really have a plan. And then again, they go from developing this whole universe and they forget to, do the proper character elements that we look forward to. And that's why I like anytime I'm writing a story, it's like, how am I going to make this character more interesting? What is this character's story? How can I tell his story? And then the universe falls into place behind that.
It's interesting you say that because it seems like with most well-told stories, it almost doesn't matter what the setting is. The setting is just the backdrop. What really matters is characters, interactions, the challenges they have, and how they overcome those challenges. Yeah. And the bigger challenges you can give them, and the more resourceful they have to be to overcome it, the better it is. And I think that might be where this conversation kind of comes together here, is that you can throw the biggest challenge of all, like Thanos, into the mix for the Marvel world. But if you have a character, like, I don't know, Captain Marvel, that can come in and pretty much one-shot him, it's like that resourcefulness just, it doesn't match. And you don't get that depth, and you don't get...
Yeah, it cheapens the whole buildup, really.
Yeah. So maybe that's been the ongoing problem then, is that because they're trying to churn out so much content, you lose some of that dynamic, you lose some of those character interactions, and then when you need to throw a fix in the hurry, it just doesn't have the same weight behind it.
Yeah.
I don't know. I've been a Star Wars kid as far as I can remember. Right? We had like the early 70s toys, right? Where they had like the little lightsabers that came out of their hands and stuff. Like the vinyl coats.
Remember those.
Oh yeah.
I had a few of those.
So for the most part, I will still watch anything Star Wars that comes out. Good, bad, indifferent. Like, and there's usually something that I connect with. There's usually stuff that I'm like, it's a groan. Just like, really? This is what we just did? There was something with, I'm assuming neither of you watched Skeleton Crew then.
Not yet, no.
Okay.
I was kind of looking forward to it, so hopefully you don't ruin that.
Yeah, no, I'm not going to spoil it because there's already been people from the preview, the trailer. There's been a lot of people talking about like the different influences. Has anyone in the chat watched Skeleton Crew yet? Go ahead and let us know if you've watched it yet. This is going to be spoiler free for at least the next, call it 20 minutes. And then I'm probably going to go off the rails just talking about stuff.
Nice.
So one of the things that people are talking about going into this is that it looks like it's made for kids. It's a throwback to the Goonies. Call it like Goonies, E.T., even like Lost, maybe.
That was the vibe I got from the trailer too.
Yeah, that was like everyone was talking about it. And just the overall like meta feeling that I got from watching these first two episodes is that they pretty much just took all of those best things that you could have possibly wanted out of those movies and genres and wrote a Star Wars story with it. I mean, there were some things in there that were just blatantly like homages, if not directly lifted from E.T. Like you can even see it in the trailer. Like they have little speeder bikes that they zip around on, these kids. Like the metal baskets on them. It's supposed to give you like E.T. vibes or Stranger Things vibes. Right?
Yeah.
And it got me thinking, like, right now, this is the highest rated, from what I saw, I could be wrong on this. This is the highest rated Star Wars series on Disney Plus right now, next to Andor.
Oh, wow.
And a lot of people didn't watch Andor because it much higher level of writing, very deep, very political, and all that good stuff.
Hmm.
So now you go down to like this, call it almost bubblegum level of like kids going on an adventure, Goonies vibes. Do you think this day and age that is an acceptable or like you should like we could really meta it. We can look back at all the movies and stories that were written well, that were well received, and just kind of retell a story with those same bones? Like, is that a viable way to write?
I say yes, because there is, based on what I've heard, and I don't actually know the source behind this, but there is only 7 different stories you could tell. It is how you tell those stories that make you different or indifferent. So yeah, I feel like it's the same thing, right? Like with art. I mean, we reference sometimes, and use elements from things. It's how you make it different and makes it yours, right? So yeah, I'd say yeah.
I agree with James. I think it's actually, in a way, what I think of from the way you described it is that if we want to re-experience why we love something in the first place, then maybe telling the story through the eyes of a child might reawaken something in us as well. I mean, we grew up with these stories, and now to see how a child experiences them, maybe in a way they're trying to reach out to like the nostalgia of what it used to mean to us, and perhaps try to get that back.
Yeah, I think that's been one of the biggest criticisms of Marvel Disney at this point, is how much the critique from a lot of folks has been that they're leaning on nostalgia to get people in. So like the No Way Home Spider-Man movie, getting all of the Peter Parkers in there. Like, well, how could you not see it? You remember Toby, you remember Andrew,
which was very well done. Like that movie was very well done.
I had a lot of issues with that movie.
Yeah, I liked it. I liked it, but I wouldn't say it was like the end all be all for sure. The Marvel movies.
Maybe I'm an outlier here, but I enjoyed it from beginning
to end. Most people did.
Yeah.
Most people did.
Yeah, that's fine. I'm not saying it. I also enjoyed it because I am unfortunately the Disney's target audience when it comes to Spider-Man, because I will watch a Spider-Man movie, kind of like you with Star Wars, Steve. I will watch a Spider-Man movie no matter who is starring and who's in it or when it comes out or whatever. I will be a diehard Spider-Man fan probably till the day I die.
Yeah. There's nothing wrong with that. I feel like if you look at Mando, you guys watch the Mando series? Mando.
Yeah, I watched the first
one.
2 seasons.
Yeah.
First season, maybe.
I feel like Mandalorian in particular, it started off kind of light with the nostalgia stuff, like bringing in some of the older vehicles or what have you. And I feel like by the time it hit season 3, it's like, who else can we get to star in this? Who else, can we pull from the toy box? And it became, in my opinion, less about the Mandalorian as the bounty hunter, as it became this muddled mess of stuff going on. I don't know. Yeah,
I felt like it cheapened it as soon as they brought out Mark Hamill's CGI face. To be honest, that was where I was like, this feels cheap.
I feel like they should have just recast him and went with it.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah. I mean, they somebody posted something somewhere of somebody. If you do the right makeup and hairstyle, it looks almost just like Mark Hamill when he was younger.
There's that, and then there's the other dude. I think he actually ended up getting a job with ILM that was doing deepfake technology that looked better than what Disney had done with the 3D rendering.
Oh, nice.
So it was kind of a mix. Like they put a 3D mask on the guy and then also did a deepfake cover, and it looked pretty spot on. But then there's also a point of like, when do we just move on? I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, James Earl Jones signed over the rights to his voice, I believe, anyways, so they could use it for AI to like make Darth Vader say anything that he wants.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, okay, now you can indefinitely have Darth Vader.
Yeah.
I think Bruce Willis did the same thing, where his likeness and voice, I could be wrong, can be used in perpetuity through AI and that sort of thing. So do we need to put a nail in the coffin with some of these characters, or?
Yeah, I don't know where you draw the line. That one's a tough one.
I genuinely feel very weird and not in a good way about past characters, and using their dead actors in order to reanimate them. There's
No.
something in my gut that just kind of squirms. Like, this is almost too creepy because, do you know, like, lots of people wonder whether AI is going to like make people into thinking that that the people that they thought were dead is going to come back to life, kind of thing. Like, when I saw the commander in
Rogue One.
thank you, yes, that guy.
Grand Moff Tarkin.
Yeah,
I am a nerd.
Thank you.
Wrong with that?
When he was, acting in that movie, I just like I'm not sure if I can be okay with that.
No.
So me personally, I feel super weird about it.
Any thoughts on that, James?
I don't know. I'm kind of impartial. I think if it's done tastefully and it's done right, as long as it's within reason of the original actor's intent, I would say, yeah, whatever.
I'm kind of at the point where, speaking Star Wars in general, I think we missed the boat over the last, call it 30 years, for George Lucas to capitalize on all of these actors being around. At this point, it's such a big universe and there's so much you can write. I think it's time to let's start a new adventure. Same sandbox. Yeah. You might have references and nods to things that happened in the past. But
that I agree with. It's like, I feel if they expand too much more, any more on Star Wars, then it's already collapsing on itself. But it's gonna be just like continue collapsing, and they just need to create a new story.
Yeah.
Stop using Star Wars, please.
Yeah, they have enough characters at this point with enough different backgrounds that they could do something interesting. Tell a whole entire story just on that without even touching the use of Jedis too. To be honest with you.
Yeah. Well, and they had such a golden opportunity with this cast that they had for the sequel trilogy, and they had the perfect opportunity to do meaningful handoffs. And I think kind of what you're talking about, James, as far as like the story being all over the place because they had different writers, different directors, that it turned into, let's subvert all the expectations. It's like, okay, how about we stick the landing with the characters we have, give them a meaningful send off. Like, maybe they're the ones that are all on the ship that has to do a kamikaze thing, and Carrie Fisher gets on the hologram thing and she's talking to Rey, and give Rey a good storyline so she's not just Mary Sue, and do all the right things to give a handoff. Meg, what's his name? John Boyega? The black dude in there?
Maybe.
He was, I think that was his name. He had all the workings to be like the next Jedi or the next Padawan or what have you. Such a likable dude in the first movie. He was even in the poster holding a lightsaber. He was in the movie holding a lightsaber. And it's like, well, maybe not.
Yeah.
I agree, because he was a likable character. Totally had a good thing going for him, but then he suddenly gets sidelined.
Completely. Yeah. And so I feel like they missed the landing on all of that. At this point, just pick up 30 years in the future from all this stuff that's going on. Where are we now? And go from there.
Yeah.
And focus on the characters. Tell a good story. It doesn't matter what the backdrop is. But I don't know. I am interested to see where Skeleton Crew goes. I don't, with anything Star Wars now, I don't have the highest expectations. I just don't.
Yeah.
We'll see. I'll be doing a full review, guys. For those of you sticking around in the chat at 8:00, there will be spoilers. So feel free to hang out through that. I'm going to talk about that and some other stuff that's going on. But you guys, have you guys been drawing here this whole time? What are you working on?
Here and there, I've been inking my pages. Yeah.
Pages for
Dex Damon. I'm down to 2 pages left.
getting that wrapped up.
Yeah, finally.
Oh, yeah.
Finally. Can't wait.
Yeah, you already know the entirety of Crimson Titan is going to be celebrating when you're done, right?
Yeah, I'm gonna have a pizza party here at my house.
What's going to be on that pizza?
Just cheese and pepperoni.
There you go. The
Classic
classics.
pizza.
Ham and pineapple.
No, I'm all right. I had that once. It wasn't. It was just. I just add sugar to my pizza. It was really if that's what I wanted.
Well, don't you also have something going on with the whole Scooby-Doo thing? What's going on with that?
Yeah, so I got my Scooby-Doo cover. So this is. I got my Scooby-Doo cover on my art book here.
Yeah.
I'm going to Steel City this weekend to meet Matthew Lillard, get a couple of these signed, and potentially be auctioning some of them off at my Whatnot show.
Nice.
Coming up soon. I started a Whatnot. Whatnot went. It was interesting. It was interesting. So I'm looking forward to that. If weather holds up, we are pending crazy weather, winter storm coming up here, and I have to leave tomorrow. So I don't know. I'm kind of keeping the tabs on the clock and how that's going to go.
Are you in that section of New York that just gets blasted, like 3 feet of snow, kind of
by the lake? Yeah. I'm a little bit out of it. But yeah, it's bad. We get a lot of lake effect snow where I live. So I'm hoping if I head directly south and then go over, then I can kind of avoid all of the lake effect stuff that's happening over here, because Erie, PA got hit by like a foot and a half, or is getting hit by a foot and a half.
Dude, Erie's no joke, man.
Yeah, so we kind of come close to that with the original route, so I kind of want to stay as far away from that as I can. So yeah, we're not sure. This is one of those things where you do a show in the wintertime and you're in an area where it gets winter. It's a risk. If you sign up for the show, you prepay for the show, there's always a chance you're gonna lose all your money.
There is that
because of a weather storm.
Which show are you heading to again?
Steel City Comic-Con. This is Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
There you go. I have yet to do that one. I keep getting, every time it's like the schedule slides around and I might have an opening, I already end up getting booked somewhere else, and they hit me up on the wait list. And they're like, hey, this last one was, someone apparently gave up. I think it was like it was a mega booth.
Ooh.
I don't know who dropped out, but I think it was, they do like the islands.
Yeah.
I think it was like I think it'd be like a 20 by 40 or something silly, like massive booth.
Yeah.
And I wonder if it's because of that storm cell that's coming through.
Yeah, there's guys not coming from Maryland because of us. They're getting weather. They're getting some hit by snow, I guess, over there. There's guys coming. It's in Erie, Pennsylvania, not coming. So yeah, it's rough. It's rough. I'm praying that the weather holds up, because it's one of those things, like shows are kind of my wife's only income. So if we don't do this show, we won't have an income for December. So that would be kind of rough for Christmas. So we're hoping weather holds out. If not, I don't know. We'll have to be resourceful and figure something else out.
Does she have an Etsy or anything like that?
She doesn't have an Etsy. She's just got her online store. Just craftyquirk.com.
Craftyquirk.com.
Yep. She sells 3D printed fidget toys, light boxes, and all sorts of cool stuff. So, thanks,
guys. I'm gonna pin that in the chat here. If you guys are looking for some holiday gifts, maybe some stocking stuffers,
Yeah,
get your family some gifts and give James some help this holiday season. Pick something up over there. Take a look. Maybe it's not something for you. Maybe it's a gift for somebody else. Maybe you got like a white elephant gift party you got to go to, or a something like that, and you need something that's something you wouldn't normally just pick up. Feel free to swing by. She's got all kinds of cool 3D printed stuff. So
I actually got one of their crocodile Loki rug, and it's now like sitting as our bathroom rug, and I adore looking at it every time. So it is very good quality, people.
Yeah, she's got a couple rugs on there. What she's got in her inventory. She also takes requests as well if it's something anybody's interested in getting a custom tufted rug. I'm not sure she can get it done in time for Christmas, but might be something to think about.
Yeah, absolutely. So guys, please head on over there, check that out, and follow James at everything is at Sketching the Beast.
You got it, man.
So and if you're going to be out in Pittsburgh this weekend at Steel City Con, do you know your booth number yet, or not?
Not off the top of my head. I think it's listed on the Steel City website, though.
Are you going to be in Artist Alley?
Yeah.
So check out Artist Alley while you're there. Swing by, see James, pick up some goods.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I'll have all my art covers, all my art and stuff. So yeah, check it out.
Excellent. And Danielle, are you drawing while we're hanging out here? I don't know if you can show us. I don't know what device you're using or.
Yeah, I'm working on a commission right now, kind of a cool one. But it is still. I'm inking my sketch phase right now. So, I guess best way to describe what I've got going here is, so my client asked for kind of like a retelling of World War II. Instead of Hitler killing the Jews, he's actually destroying fairy tale creatures. And, well, we got a werewolf with some Red Army zombies. So I don't know how well you can see it, but right now it's in the inking phase. You can see I'm trying to like get this positioned right.
Yeah, that's pretty sweet.
Thank you. Cool. I don't know how you guys can see this, but you
can see some of the line art there.
Yeah. Okay, but anyways, that's the back, and I'm trying to like get this thing. It's hard to show you guys on the phone. So while carrying this heavy thing. Wait a minute. Good. Hang on a second. I feel like a dummy. Wait, hang on.
Just move her phone.
There it is. That's what I can do.
There you go.
Hey, there we go.
There we go.
I would have done the same thing.
That's nice.
Well, thank you. Okay. But yeah. So here is the Red Army back here. There's a werewolf.
Interesting.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, very cool. Keep on rocking on.
Yeah, I've never done anything like this, so it's an interesting little challenge for me.
Yeah.
Normally, I'm doing like 1920s stuff, so I guess at some point I get started on this, huh?
It's not too far off. Give it another decade or two, and
yeah,
you're right in the middle of all that stuff.
Pretty much.
Nice.
You got any appearances coming up anywhere, or anywhere where people can see you next?
Well, I'm going to not to like conventions in the next month or so. I'm going to another caricature event that'll be taking place someplace in the middle of Austin. Starting from the morning to the night. I'm basically going to be there all day in Austin. And I was hired for private events, like it's for the caricature events. As for shows like conventions, not signed up for a lot of them. I did try to sign up for Big Texas Comic Con. I'm waiting on their response. I'm going to be signing up for Baltimore again soon.
Oh, nice.
But I know for sure that I'm going to be signing up for Greater Austin Comic Con and Hill Country Comic Con. You know, again, like lately, I haven't been doing a lot of shows because my income more or less comes from making caricatures more than they are with my posters. So,
Yeah. Where's the best place if someone wants to get a commission from you? Where's the best place to request that?
my coffee, actually. Just ko-fi.com, Evine Arts. So, you can DM me and send me all the beats. Tell me what you want. I will do my best to give you what you want.
Is there an underscore between Evine and Arts, or is it just Evine Arts?
It's just all.
Perfect. I'm going to put that in the chat too, guys. So, hey, if you're looking to get some cool, unique gifts this Christmas, maybe it's not Christmas. Maybe it's one of those December babies that gets overshadowed by Christmas. You're looking for that birthday gift.
I do offer holiday cards on my shop. So,
yeah.
Please.
There you go. Well, hit up James, hit up his wife Chrissy, or hit up Danielle here at Coffee. Every time.
I do the same thing.
It's in the chat. It's in the chat. Get some cool gifts this Christmas, and I need to head over and check you guys out too, because I got to get my Secret Santa thing squared away. I'm running out of time. It's gonna be out of time before I know it. So
nice.
But well, guys, thanks for hanging out. I'm gonna jump into the spoiler-heavy review of Skeleton Crew. So thanks for hanging out. We'll see you next time, all right?
Later, bro.
Thanks so much.
Peace.
You got it. All right, chat. It's just you and me now. And we're going to talk Skeleton Crew. I'm not going to go super into detail. I've noticed that one of the trends with a lot of content creators out there is that when they say review, they give you more or less a play-by-play as to how the story unfolds. So I'm going to do just sort of my thoughts on it. What I liked, what I didn't like, and talk a little bit about that bit that I talked with James and Danielle as far as the amount of storytelling elements that they leaned on to make the story happen. So I'm going to share a screen here. Let me move some stuff around. Have you guys watched Skeleton Crew yet? And have you watched it? Is there anybody live in the chat? We got any listeners out there? If you haven't watched the trailer, I'm going to just play this in the background a little bit because I'm pretty sure Disney will shut this thing down for copyright, but we're not playing audio. Very surface level, just about all the buzz that was coming out around this for months, if not a couple of years since they announced it, is that it's Goonies meets Star Wars. You got a couple of kids that get tied up in some pirate shenanigans, and they're looking for treasure or something. And you can just tell looking at it. I mean, Goonies, Lost, E.T., Stranger Things, even elements of like Hook, Peter Pan. That was the general vibe everyone was getting, and you will not be let down if that's what you're looking for. It's 100% that. If you took all those major plot elements about like young kids, it's not even, at this point, it's not even like a coming of age thing. It's just kids on an adventure. It very much leans into that from the get-go. And some of the things that I like about it is, number one, I feel like they nailed set design, costumes, and everything are all. It's been on point with Star Wars anyways in general, but like this has been some of the best that they've done to date. One of the things I really like is, I think they might have shown it at the beginning, like they live in this little suburbia kind of thing. Like the school that these kids go to looks like a high school. Like they even have graffiti on the walls and stuff. They do a really good job of showing that this is a big universe. And while you might have a dust planet like Tatooine, where there's not much going on and everyone's super sandy and they're wearing different kinds of garb. You could go to a couple planets over and you have a situation like this where they kind of look like suburbanites in the US. A lot of neat aliens that they use, a lot of cool droids that they plug in here. There you go. There was your suburbia. I think one of the gripes a lot of people had was you can do anything you want with Star Wars, but here you have this very throwback to the 80s with like E.T. and Fly the Navigator, kind of cities, towns, suburbs, I should say. I don't know. It threw a lot of people off. For me, it was anytime that you watch any kind of movie, especially if it's going to be something like Star Wars, Marvel, DC, you name it, there's already a certain amount of disbelief that you just have to suppress and just be like, you know what? It's entertainment. I'm watching it, having a good time. The general vibe that I was getting with these couple episodes as I was watching is I need to suppress the fact that on a meta level, I feel like they're doing the Goonies thing. I feel like they're doing the E.T. thing. And I just need to be there for the ride. And I mean, if you took any of those 80s movies, that's the formula that they're using. Until my expectations get subverted with something different, it's pretty much what we're doing here. So a lot of people are saying that they're trying to get a younger audience with this. I don't think they're trying to get a younger audience. I think they're trying to get everyone they possibly can. And they know that the target demographic that's into Star Wars was also into things like Goonies, E.T., everything I just named, right? All that to say, a lot of people that are in that demographic, 80s babies, 70s babies, 90s babies, that are now have their own kids, this could be the thing that they're like, well, we got everyone home for the holidays. Maybe the kids have winter break. Maybe this is the thing that we gather around the TV to watch, especially once we get up around Christmas when they have, I don't know how many episodes that they're doing. But if you're looking for something to binge watch and, you know, maybe the kids aren't ready to watch, you know, Darth Vader strangle people. Maybe they're not quite ready for that. Maybe they're ready for this. My comment to that, is this for kids? I think kids can watch it, no problem. There is violence. There is death and carnage. Even the very first episode, within the first couple minutes, I'm like, this isn't for kids. There's people getting blasted left and right, man. There's space pirates doing space pirate things. And I'm like, I don't think this is for kids per se. That being said, the amount of kid gloves that go on this day and age versus when I was growing up in the 80s, like we would have had no problem watching this. If you grew up watching any of those things I mentioned, even like Indiana Jones, which was still pretty dark for kids to watch back in the day. If your kid's in that age range, don't listen to me. I'm an idiot, but like they'll probably be fine. No problem. I guarantee they've seen worse on any video game. All in all, I wanted to lead with this. All in all, I thought it was good. I'm interested. I'm going to finish watching the series, mainly because just about every Star Wars series I've watched it and I've finished it. Some were more interesting than others. Some had more groaners than others. I think a lot of the groan moments that normally comes with Star Wars gets a pass in a series because it's kids. Like even going back and watching those older shows and movies, there's a lot of silly and goofy things that the kids would do. And it's like, as an adult watching, you just kind of go like, yeah, that's kids. That's kids being kids, right? And I think the biggest challenge I have with this series is just on the meta level. It feels like somebody and this is me just speculating, right? It feels like somebody up at the top of Disney said, hey dude, like we need a banger. We need something that works. We need to fall back on something we know is going to get not only adults, it's going to get kids. and it's got to work. What do we do? And they're just like, well, what did Steven Spielberg do in the 80s? Let's do that again. And just having to suppress that when I watch, with everything that they could be doing with Star Wars. Look at Book of Boba Fett, Ahsoka, even The Acolyte. It's like, okay, you're not getting bangers with those characters on those plot threads, on those storylines. Who knows if there's going to be another Book of Boba Fett? I couldn't tell you. Mandalorian, the movie, who knows? Maybe it'll be great. At this point, I was so just left unimpressed with season 3 that at this point I feel like we're not writing movies anymore. We're doing puppet shows. And it's like, this is what you want to see, right? Let's bring out the 80s movies. We got kids on bikes. And it's just not working for me, man. So in the end, yeah, I'm gonna keep watching it. I'm not gonna go over all the plot threads, but it seems like when we were talking earlier with James and with Danielle, like, you want to see these characters be resourceful and come up with ways to overcome challenges. And for the most part, these kids have someone leading them along the way. In these 2 episodes, there's someone that is kind of guiding them and pushing them, other than them stumbling into this ancient spaceship. It seems like there's someone always kind of steering them away, or along the way, I should say. This creepy looking guy right here ends up being like, I don't know, what's the word? Like their Sherpa, showing them the way, showing them how to fly the ship, get them around, where to go, who to talk to. If they didn't have him, the story would already be over. So none of the kids were resourceful enough to kind of figure it out on their own, which would have been interesting, if they accidentally ended up somewhere because the kid just picked something on a whim, which they kind of did with this guy. But I put all these pictures up for a reason. But this is your main character. I don't know his name. I forgot it. They said it several times. This is the challenge with Star Wars, is that they're not named like John and Dan. I think this guy's name is Jed or something like that. He's interesting enough. The speculation, I'm going to get into some spoilers here, guys, so I apologize if I'm spoiling. I don't apologize. The speculation that's going on with this sort of world that they live on, with the school that they go to and everything else, is that it's such this like secluded planet that it almost feels like an experiment or something, or maybe this is like they're training the future stormtroopers or something. And speaking of like stuff that was big in, I think it was the 80s when it came out, The Giver, the book, this feels very Giver-esque. And then there's been other books and movies that were sort of this future utopia, dystopia, where you get assigned a gig based on like what you can do. What was the other movie? Oh, it's escaping me. It's going to come to me later. It's another one of the stories you had to read in like junior high. It was like assigned reading. At any rate, you take a test to be assigned what you're going to do the rest of your life. And for whatever reason, like if this is supposed to be, if it really is like stormtrooper training or like future first order training, for whatever reason, like this kid is always carrying around like their version of a comic book. Like it's talking about Jedis and Jedis fighting monsters. So this kid is learning all this stuff about Jedis. And it's like, if this really is like a first order camp, why on earth would they let this kid have a story about Jedis? Because even when they're like asking around the class, there's this gal. She's like, what do you want to do when you grow up? Or whatever. I can't zoom in. There we go. Maybe? No. I don't know why that's not working. At any rate, she's asking different students like what they want to do with their lives. And she gets to our hero. And he's like, I want to do something important to help people. And they're like, you pretty much told her you want to be a Jedi. Dumb move. It's like, okay. So in my mind, that writes off First Order. Because why would they let them have Jedi stuff if like Jedi were responsible for bringing down the Empire? Doesn't make a whole lot of sense. I don't know. So there's lots of speculation around there. I'm interested to see what they do with it. It's an interesting concept, having like this pristine, mostly pristine, like you can see graffiti on the wall. Here's your co-leading lady here. She hits all the tropes of the smug, know-it-all, tough girl. She does her role well. Like all the kids do a really good job. Got no complaints there. They did bring back this guy for a cameo. He's like the little taxi driver there. I can zoom in. He was actually from the old Ewok show. We had on, I think it was on VHS, like recorded off the TV. There was actually a couple of Ewoks movies that everybody forgets about. The Battle for Endor is what he's from. He's a super goofy looking character. He's pretty goofy in the movie. But from what I recall, the little girl that the movie's based around, her whole family gets annihilated in the first 10 minutes. Maybe even less than that. She has like this little life link that she wears on her wrist. It has little lights for the status of everybody in her family. And I should be laughing, but there's all these raiders that come in. They're like shooting everybody up on Endor, right? They're just blasting people. And she's like running around. She's like, oh, go see so. No, get away from here. Go get cover. Go check on so and so. And she keeps looking at her wrist, and the person that she just talked to, like their little light goes out. I was like, that's super freaking dark for kids, man. So yeah, totally wiped out, totally annihilated. But then she befriends this goofy little guy who apparently goes on to be a taxi driver in Skeleton Crew, which I thought was kind of funny. Good to see that they're still using them. It's kind of funny. Like, not only did she make friends with this guy, but she also made friends with Wilford Brimley. Was in the Star Wars. Did you guys know this? Wilford Brimley was in the Star Wars universe. So there's 2 Ewok movies. I forget the name of the first one. Never saw it. Couldn't tell you what it's about. But the second one's called Battle for Endor. And if you want to see Wilford Brimley do some pretty killer, what would you call that? Using like a bow staff. It's not great, but the diabetes guy makes an appearance in, well, not just an appearance. He's like the leading dude in that movie. Buck Wild. Everyone forgets about it. Here you got some of the speeder bikes that they're using. I thought this was kind of cool, having like the sidecar. I thought that was I like this better than the mopeds that they used in Book of Boba Fett. I thought the super bright mopeds in Boba Fett were pretty not fitting for the universe that they're in. But this looks pretty cool. Totally believable as far as the setting. They brought this dude back. He was one of the guys that got written out, edited over. So in the original movie, they were just literally using Halloween masks for the cantina scene. And there's a quick shot of the Wolfman. I think he was like eating a weird like claw sandwich or something. Maybe he's just sitting there. But they more or less brought him back to be one of the lead bad dudes. And so far, seems pretty cool. I like that they're using him. They brought in some of these other guys. I know that they've got a specific alien name. I couldn't tell you what it is, but it's cool that they are bringing up some of these things that George Lucas thought was lame, and they're making it cool again. So I like that. Do more of this. I mean, think about it this way. We were talking about how they had 30 years. Lucas had 30 years since Jedi to come up with something to bring back Mark Hamill, Carrie Fisher, and all of them back together for some kind of adventure. The only thing that we've been able to have as Star Wars fans is like our own headcanon or like what's in the books, right? Go back and play in the toy box. What were the toys that were really cool back in the late 70s, early 80s, and even in the 90s with all these characters that they'd created? Put them in the movies. Like, this is cool and all that they're doing, like the Goonies ET thing, but I'm more excited about seeing what this dude's about than the Goonies thing. Like, that'll play out, that'll be fine, but like let's see what this guy's about. This kid reminds me of He could be on Arthur. You guys ever watch that cartoon, Arthur? The Aardvark? This dude looks like he could have his own, and acts like he could have his own PBS special. Wholesome. I mean, his hair's even like parted over to the side and everything else. All in all, I'm not super excited about this character. I'm just not. I'm not excited about any of the kids doing anything really. It's more or less I just want to see where the story goes. See, some cool stories get told, but I'm not really invested in any of them at this point. And he seems the least capable of doing anything other than possibly getting into some hairy situations. But all in all, though, like from a technical standpoint, he's one of those characters that nowadays, when they do the cross between the prosthetics and the costumes versus digital stuff, I haven't watched any behind this. I don't even know if there are any behind the scenes, but this character in particular makes me wonder, like, how did they pull this off? Obviously, they could just have a dude in a suit or a kid in a suit, and then have some animatronics going on, some remote animatronics. They could do it all CG. I'm just curious to see how they did this one. I talked about him. Jaleel White shows up. Urkel barely does anything so far, but he's in there. So kind of cool to see him have his part in the Star Wars universe. As long as we're going back to the 90s, right? Let's dig up some heroes from the 90s. So cool to see him there. So people say that this dude in the background was possibly the guy from Mandalorian. I don't know if that's true. I didn't follow it close enough to know. There he is back in school. So thoughts in general about all of this. I think in general it's good, right? I'm going to finish watching it. Curious to see where it goes. Sadly, I think the most interesting character so far is not the kids. It's not her. He's pretty interesting. Oh, we didn't talk about this gal. She's actually pretty neat. So she has, I'm assuming, like they dabbled in this with Mandalorian, with or Book of Boba Fett, maybe both, of doing like the different like droid implants and stuff in people. And I mean, they even did that in Empire with the dude. I forget the guy's name, but he has like the earmuffs that go on that do like stuff. They have lights on them. I'm sure it's important. But seeing her do like some hacker level stuff right now, she seems the most capable. Like this girl, pretty good at driving a speeder bike and talking a lot of smack. This girl actually can do stuff. Like there's a couple times so far that she has proven like she can like hack stuff and open doors. Seems actually useful. So maybe interesting, but God, all these other characters, like this dude, I'm more interested about him just because they got rid of him. They actually edited this dude out of the movie. George Lucas waited like 15 years. And he's like, you know what really has to go? Now that we have computers, the Wolfman, he's got to go. He's on the chopping block. Of all the things that they chopped out of Star Wars, I don't think this was the biggest sin by any means. So he did a really good job in the little bit of screen time that he has. I'm curious to see what his actual motivations are and like where he goes. I didn't talk about Jude Law. I don't have a Jude Law picture. Jude Law shows up and he's super creepy. Has anybody in the chat, have any of you guys watched this yet? At least hit the like button if you're hanging out. I appreciate that. So Jude Law, he might be a Jedi. But all these kids get, spoiler alert, they get thrown in jail. And then they're trying to get a key. They can't get the key. Key's too far away. And next thing you know, there's another guy in the jail. He's like, I can help you. And he pulls the key over and he says some stuff that sounds very Jedi-ish. And then he says the creepiest thing that he, as a grown man, out of nowhere, just like, I'm going to help these kids. Then he's like, can you keep a secret? Like, get the hell out of here. Can you keep... No, don't go around telling kids to like keep secrets. Very strange, very weird. I'm not on board with it. But in the context of the movie, if it actually has some kind of relevant, there's been a couple of things in media, and I'm not going to be able to remember it. But again, it's like adults talking to kids, and they're like, "Can you keep a secret?" Like, don't feed that to kids. Don't give this impression that they need to. Like, kids, go tell your parents if something weird's going on. If you got a weird guy in jail trying to get you a key using the force, tell your parents about what's happening to you in jail. Okay? That's all I'm going to say about that. So I'm going to talk, and this is probably where I'm going to end talking on this whole subject, is just this idea of where Disney, Star Wars, even MCU is with what they're generating, what they're putting out. I feel like we're falling back on the only thing we think might work. And that's hit them with all the nostalgia you can. Hit them with all the things that seem familiar, different genres that have been successes over the years. Pretty much, like I said earlier, everything that Spielberg did in the 80s into the 90s. And even like Stranger Things, right? Like, just get all these things. Lost was the other one. This whole reason I believe they had J.J. Abrams did Lost, right? Is that I feel like they're like, what do we have to do to get people on the hook? Let's do those things. And it's like, you already have me. I'm already watching Star Wars stuff that I think is borderline terrible. I thought Book of Boba Fett, for the most part, was trash. Were there some good things? Yes. Were there some terrible things? Plenty. I kind of want to go back and watch it again to see if my opinion has changed on that one. But like the story opens up with Wolf Boy. Let's go back to Wolf Boy. I like his picture. Let's get him up here. Look at that guy. Dude's angry, ferocious, but he's also smiling, right? He's in a good mood. He's happy to be here. Very opening scene is these pirates in this big ship breaching into another ship, guns ablazing. There's people getting blasted left and right. And then this dude comes out, and there's an altercation with their current captain that they've got, a pirate captain, who a lot of people think is Jude Law. I don't know if it's Jude Law or not. I don't think that dude would have survived to tell the tale. More or less, they were supposed to be robbing the ship. All these pirates were supposed to be robbing the ship that they had boarded. Well, needless to say, there wasn't anything worthwhile on the ship. So the impression that they give you is that they killed the captain, and then apparently this guy took over. There's so far, the villain is the most interesting character, in my opinion. Other than the girl with like the cybernetic eye. But even then, like, she's not that interesting. She's just capable of doing stuff. It has got me, because I'm narcissistic, apparently. It gets me thinking about myself and how I write and how I do what I do. I have previously used the mentality with writing of, I'm going to drop you in on an action, something that's going on, and you're going to learn about these characters along the way. You don't need to go in and give a bunch of backstory and do a ton of world building. Like, if the thing that's going on is interesting enough and it builds into a story where you can learn about the character along the way, or even in the actions that are going on within that little conflict that's happening, your audience, if they haven't put the book down already, your audience is on the hook. They want to see what's going on. I feel like this dude, or even the captain that they allegedly mauled to death, was infinitely more interesting than anything else. But then I started thinking about, so they're leaning into, I don't know if genre is the right word. Trope is probably more correct with all of like kid adventure movies. Goonies, E.T., you name it. That they're like, well, it's a tried and true formula that if you take kids, you take them out of the normal setting, Even like being late for school and all that stuff. Like they hit on all those hallmarks of being a kid, right? Taking a big test, big standardized test, being late for it, dealing with the pressure of dealing with other kids in the school. But then suddenly you're outside of that, and the people that used to almost kind of bully you or be above you or talk down to you, you're now on an adventure with, and you're on the same playing field because no one knows what's going on, and you're trying to figure out where everybody stands. Those are all tropes that work for the most part. I'm sure there's plenty of duds, right? I'm positive that there were tons of movies like that. What's the movie? It's like Mac and Me or something like that. That just don't hold up the way that they used to. Whereas, like, I remember I've got a brother and sister that are like 14, 15 years younger than me. I remember one night when they were kids, they were arguing about what movie they were going to watch. And I didn't know what either of these movies were. I was not interested in what they wanted to watch. So finally I was like, you know what? We're going to put on The Sandlot. You know what? They freaking loved it. There was another night. They're arguing about what movie they're going to watch. What I put on? Iron Giant. They freaking loved it. All those movies that show a younger kid, you know, take it like that junior high age and put them in a conflict, put them on a thing where they got to stand on their own. It should work. It should work. You can even kind of look at that with New Hope, original Star Wars movie, right? Is that you had Luke Skywalker, that he was older, right? And he was probably, 17, 18 in that movie, based on his character, not necessarily Mark Hamill. And he's like, he's kind of whining. He's like, I gotta go to Tashi to get some power converters. I want to go join the Academy. I want to be a starfighter pilot. Whatever he was saying, right? He got taken out of his element, and that's more of the hero's journey, where now he's on his own. He has to prove his thing. Well, this particular trope or genre, whatever you want to talk about, where it's even younger, you're talking junior high kids, they got to go on the adventure. There's going to be elements of danger that should be way above their head that they now have to deal with, like space pirates. And it's been gold in the past. At first I was like, really? You felt like you had to stoop this low to try to get me on the hook? Like, you already got me, right? But then I'm like, maybe my approach to writing, while it might work in some cases, maybe I need to take a look at some of the other things that work. Like James was saying, there's only so many different stories you can tell. You can change out the characters and the components, but you're effectively telling the same story. It's not heavy spoilers. There's another channel that the guy says that there's only two kinds of movies, and I'm going to butcher this. It's either Wizard of Oz or there's another one. But he's like, every movie is either Wizard of Oz or the other thing. There's only 7 kind of stories you can tell, like James said. Well, maybe from a storytelling component, if I look back over time at all of the major franchises that really stuck the landing, not even franchises, because Goonies, everybody loved Goonies 1. I think there was a sequel to Goonies. Nobody talks about the sequel. Maybe as a writer, I need to swallow my pride as to what I think makes for a good story and take a lesson from some of the bigger, franchises. Think about how they approached it. The hero story works, right? So if you're not familiar with hero story, let me pull that up. I'm going to pull up hero story. See if I get a good graphic for you. You guys familiar with hero story? I'm just rambling over here. Feel free to say hi in the chat if you're hanging out. Hero's Journey is what it's called. Diagram. That'll work. Let's pull this up here. All right. Let's see if we can get a bigger image of this. Okay, thanks, Wikipedia. All right. If you're not familiar with the hero's journey, this is apparently what most literary people will tell you is like the best way to tell a story. And they say that even if you're not going to do it 110%, you should have elements of this in your writing. We start at the top. And this is, all the familiar things like, I don't know, sitting in the middle of school, taking tests and all this stuff. You start to approach, you start to approach the unknown. So you have the call to adventure, some kind of supernatural aid, threshold guardians, and then you get across the threshold. You have helpers, you have mentors that guide you along the way, you have challenges and temptations, your helper comes back to get you through the thing, and then you have a revelation. There's some sort of abyss. This is your lowest low. You go through the transformation like a beautiful butterfly coming out of a cocoon. You atone for maybe the thing. Maybe you're the one that caused somebody else to die. And then you come back. You have, quote unquote, the gift of the goddess. I am not an expert on hero's journey, but the idea of it is that you take someone out of their comfort zone, and there's something that happens. And this is where you have that threshold that there's no turning back. You have to go. If you go back to New Hope, Star Wars, this would be when, Luke sees that his family, Uncle Owen and Aunt Beru, have been torched. He's got nothing left. And it's not safe for him to stay there. He has no more anything to fall back on. So his helper, his mentor, his helper would be like a Han Solo character. That's somebody that can help him get to where he needs to go. His mentor, obviously Obi-Wan. And he goes through the challenges and temptations. Han Solo definitely came in at the end to help him again. But the abyss, death, and rebirth for him would definitely be with Obi-Wan in that movie. And there was nothing that he could do to stop it. He felt powerless, but he said, you know what? I have to do something to stop these guys. So the way to atone for that is he becomes a fighter pilot for the rebellion. And then he goes and he blows up the Death Star and kills millions of people in the process. So he killed my uncles, and my aunt, torch them. Guess what? Millions of people dead. Just like that. So I don't... Hero's journey turns you into a mass murderer. Now, it was war. It was a war. Was it a war or was it conflict? If you're calling yourselves the rebels, I don't know if that's technically a war, even though it's called Star Wars. I'm rambling at this point. At any point, this is the major storytelling device that they will tell you to use. And when you take, let's say we take these kids, right? They're in school, they're doing their thing. Call to adventure is they find this buried Jedi temple, which turns out to be a spaceship. Again, spoiler heavy. Welcome. The threshold is just kind of the ship takes off and leaves. So I don't know. Okay, so we keep going. Their helper and apparently their mentor are both the same character. It's our dear friend. Oh yeah, this irritated the hell out of me. Again, it's like you're not even trying at this point. So this character, he identifies with the nomenclature of, that's the wrong word, go with it, SM33, also known as Smee. Who was Smee? Does anyone in the chat know who Smee was? Anybody? I'll give you a second to dwell on that one. But this guy pretty much becomes God to these kids. He's the only one that knows what's going on. These kids have never been in space, let alone barely seen space. They have a protective shield or something around their planet. But pretty much at this point, all the challenges and temptations, for the most part, have been solved by Smee. Like them getting through the little pirate camp thing, he has been mostly their god. And now, I don't think we're even at the abyss yet by any means. That's fine. We're only 2 episodes in. They're in jail, and now they've got a new helper. So as soon as this guy's gone, it's like, we got to get these kids some help. Smee's gone. Oh, yeah, by the way, SM33 in Leet speak would be Smee. Smee was the, was he the first mate to Hook, Captain Hook, and Peter Pan. So the fact that they're like, that's the Easter egg. It's like, I wonder if people pick up that he's Smee. Okay. It's a pirate. It's a pirate ship. SM33 Smee. Get that. Anyways, so as soon as this dude is out of the picture, these kids are alone for about 10 seconds. And they're like, let's get Jude Law in here. because these kids aren't going to make it. They're not good. They're not good at what they're doing. The only one that knows anything about anything is the girl with the Geordie LaForge visor. She's very useful. Like she helped hack a couple things or open doors or whatever she did. So she has a leg up on everybody. I think that's my biggest complaint so far is that even though they're alone on this adventure, they are having their hand held the whole time. And I think that's my biggest problem with a lot of the writing that goes on with Marvel, Disney, you name it, is that it's like whoever the hero is has somebody that is, I shouldn't say literally because it's overplayed, is damn near the whole time holding their hand. Let's go back to Book of Boba Fett. We get a new character introduced named Fennec Shand from Mandalorian that's by his side going into the series. And any challenge that seems like it could be Boba Fett's demise or he doesn't know how to handle it or what, out of nowhere, Fennec's just like snipes the guy, karate kicks the guy, whatever. I think if we're going to use the hero's journey as an example, I feel like the helpers are actually just doing the stuff. I mean, this dude has more character in him than the kids do right now. He's a pirate droid that was powered down with the ship, comes to life, and pretty much knows everything. And he's super powerful. These fists are meant for punching. So I don't know. We'll see. I don't have super high hopes for it, just with anything Star Wars. It's interesting to see. All of the YouTube reactions are like, Star Wars is back. It's actually good. It's like, dude, right now they're leaning on a ton of nostalgia. And it's not bad. None of it's bad per se. Does all of it make sense? Not really. But I don't expect something to make total sense 2 episodes in. And I just feel like if this dude already carried them almost 2 episodes for what he was involved in, Jude Law is going to come in, and for the duration of the series until they take him out or he disappears, I just hope they're not leaning on those guys to get these kids through this 6 episodes, whatever they're doing. I don't know. So yeah, I don't know. That's sort of my review. I think all in all, yeah, it's good. It's not great. It's not bad. It's just where's this thing going? And are these, you look back at the Goonies and like those kids were on their own. Like they had an older kid in the group that was helping them and that sort of thing, but they had to overcome those problems. Oh, and then what's his name? God, I can't remember the dude that wore the Superman shirt. Like he came in to help too. Okay, I'm not gonna sell him short. So we'll see. I think for me, again, I was super nerd when I was a kid when it came to Star Wars. I think one of the stories I really wanted to see was what was it? Shadows of the Empire. So there was a story that not a lot of it was great, but the idea of it was the shadow campaign that was going on during Empire Strikes Back. We're only really watching from the point of view of Darth Vader, some of the Imperial guys here and there, but then also Luke and Han and Leia. That's really the only perspective that we get. But as big as that campaign was, like at that point, the Imperials were on, I feel like such a nerd talking about this, but I'm glad you guys are here to listen. The Empire is on like a full court press to just take out the rebels, take over the galaxy, take over the universe, right? Take some of the different special forces, special operations that were going on during that time and dig into those characters. See what was going on behind the scenes that made everything happen. They kind of did that with Rogue One. Well, they did do that with Rogue One. And most people say out of all the newer, call it post George Lucas selling to Disney, that was one of the top rated, highly acclaimed movies, was because he took this one statement of many Bothans died to get us these plans. Well, what the heck's a Bothan? How did they die? What did that look like? And Rogue One, for the most part, did a really good job of digging into that. Rogue One also had a giant battle droid looking thing that kicked a lot of butt. But I felt like the main character in that, I forget her name. No one's helping me in the chat. Does anyone remember her name? Anybody? She gets recruited because she's like one of the best at what she does. And for the most part, you feel like she's being led around the adventure by the Andor dude. So, I don't know. I feel like if you're going to have heroes, give them, it doesn't have to be exactly the hero's journey, but give them the story arc that takes them from maybe being reluctant, maybe wanting to stay in those norms, and actually give them some challenges and temptations that put them at this low. Someone dies, something gets lost. Any number of things that's like, crap, I need to step up. And it doesn't have to be that story. But just give them something, man. Don't have them like, this is one person walking around and there's mentors and helpers. There's not someone holding their hand. There's not another stick figure here that's bigger and looks like a bigger droid. And another guy with a gun leading this person around the circle. I don't know. That's my thoughts. I am going to, probably the next time I sit down to write, think about the different genres that are out there. So I feel like Disney just took the bones from all these other animals to make a new animal that moves and acts like all the other animals. And everyone's like, it's actually good. I have some ideas. I've got one in particular. When am I going to do this? I don't know. If I start getting Kickstarters start hitting around a certain threshold, that I could start telling more stories and hiring people to do ink and color and that sort of thing. I've got an idea for a story that I want to tell. I'm going to spill my guts here because it's Wednesday night. We got a few people hanging out. I kind of want to do a darker, grittier version of like a Voltron or a Power Rangers. And I know somebody in the YouTuber sphere just launched a book that's like about something like that, as far as like a it's like a World War II Power Ranger thing. I want it to be, I don't know. I'm going to give you a quick premise, and it's mine to write, so don't steal my idea. Don't steal it. I shouldn't even be telling you. I shouldn't even be telling you guys, but I'm going to tell you anyways. The idea is that you've got one active ranger left. Maybe some of them died. Maybe some of them have been taken out of commission one way or the other through combat through the years. But you're left with one. You're left with one guy that has one of the, what are we going to call it? The vehicles. If it was Voltron, he'd have one of the Tigers. And he's still out there fighting. He's still out there defending. But he's at his personal lowest low. Not having a team around him. Having to face these challenges. And where he goes from there. And is it even possible to get all 5 Tigers back to make Voltron? But something would have to give. Something would have to happen that maybe he decides he's done too. Something bad happens. And not only does he have to come back, but he's got to find a way to bring back the rest of them Tigers. Build Voltron, use a sword. Once you have the sword out, the mighty sword, whatever it was called, you win. You win everything. So that's one of the many ideas. So, all that to say, I have a tentative plan for Kickstarters for what's up, Flower? What's happening? I'm just rambling in here. I do have a tentative plan for Kickstarters for next year. I am, call it 70% done with Alice in Slaughterland. I got to finish inking that, coloring that, and then lettering, but that's going to launch Q1. Q2, I actually today finished layouts for Darkside 2. So that's going to come out mid-year next year. I got it. Pencil that, ink that, color that, you name it. And then, what else do I have? I think I had my notepad pulled up earlier. Q3 is going to be Slaughter Dolls 3. And that's going to introduce a lot of new elements. I'm excited to write that one. But then there's also the card game that I'm doing. I have no idea when I'm going to do all this, but it's like I have so many ideas for stories. If we can get the Kickstarter popping, if we can get this revenue coming in, I can afford to pay people to do this, come in and out. That is the goal. Until I get there, I have to do the heavy lifting. I have to get it done. So I felt very good that I at least got layouts done for Darkside 2 today. I'm very excited about where Darkside 2 is going to go. If you didn't get Darkside 1, maybe I'll put it up on my website. That'd probably be smart, but make that available. Get out of here. In fact, we're done with the screen. Get out of here. First Darkside. This is my retelling of Book of Boba Fett, but the idea is that it can play into my version of 7, 8, and 9. And I learned so much from doing the first Slaughter Dolls, and I learned so much from doing this book, that every book that I do moving forward, look at all those guys, look at those people. Kabam. Like I'm already like so excited to get to work on Darkside 2, but it's like I need to finish Alice in Slaughterland. I'm excited to finish that one too because I really like kind of how I wrapped it up. Like look at those people. Look at them. They're like, oh my god, look at that dude. So yeah, I'm just walking through like a badass. And they're like, oh my god. He walks into the club. Look at that lighting. This one was very narrative driven, as in there's a lot of reading in this book. And I was a little reluctant at first, but I'm like, the main character doesn't talk at all. Hardly ever. He talks here and there, but barely at all. Kind of like Boba Fett didn't talk hardly at all through those 3 movies. Or really the 2 movies he was in. So I wanted to get back to that. If you don't have a main character that talks, somebody has to do some talking. I am not good enough from a writing perspective and a drawing perspective to have the story tell itself. Not to mention, like if you're not reading, you're just looking at the pictures, you're counting on your readers to pick up on the subtle things from what you're drawing. So this book, there's a lot of writing in there. There's a lot of story. It talks about everything that's going on, how we got to where we got to. That's one of my favorite. This is my first time doing a 2-page spread. Look at that ship. There's that little spaceships in the background there. Oh my god. Who drew this? Phenomenal. Look at those little details too. If you zoom in, or just hold this up to the camera. Just like that. So, very excited for Darkside 2. But I have got so much that I want to write and do. So, Kickstarters will be coming out next year. I'll be announcing when those come up. But in the meantime, I've got it in the chat here. Hit up Evine Arts. Let's see if I can highlight this. Can I highlight this? We've already got, well, let's plug first the craftyquirk.com. That is James's wife's website. If you want to get some gifts, some cool gifts for the family, check that out. And then, of course, check out our friend Danielle at coffee.com. I think it's Ko-Fi. Ko-Fi. That's Ko-Fi. Ko-Fi.com/evinearts. Get some cool gifts there. But friends, we're going to be wrapping things up. If you could hit that like button for me before you check out. And I really appreciate y'all hanging out. This weekend, I will be in Columbus GalaxyCon. I have no idea what my booth number is, but hang out, come say hi, all that good stuff. Other than that, that's it for shows for the rest of this year. And then we get busy again in January and February, and it just kicks off, and it's going to be super busy next year. So thank you for hanging out. Thanks for subscribing. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. I don't care if you hit the bell. I think notifications are the most god-awful thing on a phone. There's notifications for everything. I get it. Just plan on Wednesday nights at 7 Eastern time. I'll be here hanging out, chatting. And that like button helps. If you hit that like button, every time you hit a like button, a Death Star gets its lasers or something. Thanks for hanging out. We'll see you next time, guys. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.